Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of She Goods People Podcast. My name is Kelsey Coop Charles, and along with me, as always, I have Antonio Brother Long. Brother Long, how's it going today?
Uh, cool. What's up, brother? Been a minute. We've been things been coming up, but everything good. I'm looking forward to this show. This is a show that is near and dear for sure to both our hearts. And just ready to get it going. Gonna be a little upfront and emotional, but it is what it is, man. I mean, if you truly love the art that we're gonna talk about today, it's gonna resonate with you a whole lot.
For sure, for sure. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in it, man. We have any
Yeah.
community announcements tonight?
Nah, the community announcement is the biggest announcement that has been for those of us in the South for the last couple of weeks. Um, if you don't know, tonight's show is dedicated to the founder of Organized Noise Productions, Mr. Rico Wade. If you've listened to us over the last 3 years, you know the reverence that we have for Outkast, for the Goody Mob, the whole entire Dungeon family.
For
Um,
sure.
you know, First of all, want to say to uh, his mom, his kids, his significant other, uh, shout out. This has affected anybody that has had love or had any kind of uh, connection to the Dungeon family over the last 30 years or so. This one hit hard, and this one hit close to home just because of the fact, Rico is my age, and for lack of a better word, we all grew up when Outkast came out. We grew up with the Dungeon family. We understood what it meant, and we're gonna get into it as we go through this. But want to say, prayers to them because I know they going through it and they know him personally. We just speaking from it from just being fans. So it's one of those things. But this is one, just like a couple years ago when DMX passed away. This is one we cannot uh, bypass and just not say anything because of the love that we have for Rico himself, for what he gave us, and but also for the culture. There is no one more significant to Southern hip hop, I would say, than Rico Wade.
Yeah, definitely on the Atlanta scene. We're all about giving people their flowers while they're here, and this one has been, like you said before, a long time coming. We just never got around to it. And it goes to show you, man. I mean, what a difference a day makes. This is one we planned on doing for just to celebrate and give them their flowers, but fortunately we had to do it under these circumstances. We're still gonna celebrate, but
Oh yeah, oh
it's a
yeah,
little different. It's a little different this time around, So
yeah.
uh,
It's one of these things, and I guess, I started with this, Kelsey. Um, it was unexpected. Um,
mhm.
the day that it happened, and when I saw it pop up on social media, I was like, I think the first thing I did, I think I grabbed the phone and sent it to you, and I was like, no, and
Yeah,
it was like, this, you couldn't believe it,
yeah,
because it was so much positive momentum that we saw, and we kind of felt like um maybe we could get one more album, maybe we can
right,
get them together, and I didn't want them to get together like this though, man.
right. And like you said, we have our own selfish reasons why we're grieving. Uh, but at the end of the day, I think you said it before. We not only did we lose one third of our organized noise member of the Dungeon family, but father, brother, you know, a friend to the community, a big part of the Atlanta not, I don't even want to say rap scene, Atlanta music scene, you
Music,
know.
man. Yeah, yeah.
You know, his reach is far beyond rap, and his connections early on to shape the landscape of Atlanta music, you know, can't go unspoken.
Right.
So I guess without further ado, I guess we'll jump into like the history. You know, I mean, I'm a big Outkast fan. I'm a big Organized Noise fan. Um, and you know, and I'll be 100% honest. I don't have all of the history, but I do know that Organized Noise started, you know, with Sleepy Brown and Rico Wade. Tion for T-Balls, he introduced the two. You know, at first they didn't hit it off, but you know, as fate would have it, Sleepy was coming in with Tion and his girlfriend at the time. You know, I just heard all this. A shout out to Questlove, heard all this on his podcast. You know, you get new tidbits all the time.
Yeah.
And after they met Rico, they were on their way out, and Tion and Cookie got into a fight, and so you know, Sleepy went back and started talking to Rico, and you know, they hit it off,
But
and
cool. Is
you
that
know,
not 1990s
that's
activity
the way it
though?
went. That's the way.
Bruh, is that not us early, late 80s, early 90s? That was
Yeah,
significant to the point of, when I heard that, I was like, man, this ain't no different. Ain't no different
yeah.
than us, man.
Oh yeah, it's typical. It's typical. I mean, you know, you hear that. You know, nowadays, of course, when you hear somebody fighting, you, there's always some repercussions behind it. But back then, you know, you fight, and you live to see another day. But fast forward to Sleepy hanging out with his mentor, and he told him that Ray may be coming over. A guy named Ray's gonna be coming over to pick up some stuff. Um, Ray came in, uh, picked up his tapes, whatever he had to get. Sleepy heard what he was working on, and man, he went back and told Rico, man, we got to have him. Got to have him in the group. You know, fast forward, they were able to convince him, and they started a group. And I mean, pretty much from that point, the rest is history. I mean, you know, I think iron sharpens iron. You know, all three of them had something that they brought to the table. Sleepy had the equipment. You know, Ray had the know-how, and Rico had the gift. So I mean, you know, that's pretty much how Organized Noise to me. And here again, you know, all the details aren't there. And what I'm telling you, I'm just paraphrasing some and just going off memory on some, but pretty much that's how they form.
Yeah,
And from there, I mean, like I said, the rest is history and what they've been able to do.
yeah. Shout out to Questlove. I listened to at that link you sent me, man. And I'm just gonna be honest, just the history, just the
Mm-hmm.
history of where they came from, how they got there. It
Yeah.
made a whole lot of sense because I've been fortunate all my life to go back and forth between South Carolina and Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Just because my granddaddy loved baseball, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he gave me and my brother opportunity to go with him. And and they were talking about the things that were going on during that time. And honestly, we from 79 to about 81, 82, we didn't go
Mm-hmm.
to Atlanta because everybody was scared because of the child
Wayne Williams. Yeah,
Wayne
Wayne
Williams. You
Williams.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we did go, they had a close grasp on us, not to make sure. And this was during the time, when the Braves were playing at
Mm-hmm.
Fulton County, that's Martin Luther King, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Right off.
It is smack dab the hood, you know.
Yeah, right off 75. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see it.
And it was like for a long time it scared us, you know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
it was something, we, like I say, I was fortunate enough because I've always went to Atlanta. um Now I'll be honest, the last time that I spent significant time in Atlanta has changed a whole lot, bro, and it ain't for the
Yes,
better. I'll say that.
that's
um
true.
it still has its pockets, of like it used to be and things of that nature. But I remember the days that that they came together, straight out of high school when we went to Atlanta. The love, the brotherhood, kinship, I guess that's the best way to put it, that
Yeah.
we all felt during that time, because, you know, you still had Freaknik was still, you know, popping, you know, uh, Dominique ran Atlanta at that point. And
Yeah.
then Dion followed right behind him when he got drafted by the Falcons. Um,
True.
that made Atlanta the Mecca. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
and for your hip hop heads out there, you know, truly, you know, to hear them speak about the reverence of MC Shy D, uh,
Yeah.
really for us here in the Carolinas, you know, that was kind of like, oh, you know, because we were
Hmm.
so conditioned for East Coast, well, basically New York rap. I'm not gonna say East
Yeah.
Coast, basically New York
Right.
rap. Uh,
Well, New York was the East Coast at the time. I mean,
right,
that's what you were talking about, you know.
right. You know, and this is almost pre. Well, when Shadi came out, this is pre Two Live Crew,
Hmm.
because Shadi was the first artist that we heard on the radio from the South at that point. Uh, you know, and Get It Girl was that was the party jam, you know, once upon a time, you know, and that it gave us pride because okay, this is somebody from the South that
Hmm.
putting their talents out there. And then because honestly, in the Carolinas, I'll say it like this here. Now, granted, Luke and the Two Live Crew blew up. I'm not gonna say they didn't. They
Right.
brought a lot of notoriety to the South, but it still didn't feel like us because
Right.
we couldn't uh we couldn't we couldn't understand the Miami lifestyle, the it's always hot, it's always nice, girls walking
Right.
around in bikinis, stuff like that. So it had
Now,
its place.
now we did have a small stint in South Carolina. What was the group that Angie Stone was part of before she started singing?
I can't remember what the name of them are. I remember they were, but they in
It wasn't
actuality the
JJ Fad,
first.
was it?
No, it
Was
wasn't
it JJ
JJ
Fad?
Fad. It wasn't JJ Fad. And it's
Supersonic.
a
I know
shame
they had
that
a
we
song
don't know what
Supersonic.
it is. But
Yeah.
you know, they started it out, but really, again, they didn't get the airplay
No. No.
that Shadi got when he started because
Right.
Shadi, you know, every DJ in South Carolina made sure they played Shadi when he first came out because that was our closest, I guess, our closest neighbor when you're looking at it
Right.
to hip hop.
Yeah.
Uh,
3.5 hours away. Yeah.
right. So, like I say, Luke during this time, you know, Two Live Crew is blowing up, people hearing it, but there still was a
Hmm.
stigma with Two Live Crew because, you know, we
Right.
don't think about it now because of how songs are, but back then,
Right.
you know, that was hush hush because, you know, they didn't want you listening to that. You wasn't gonna get that
No.
on play,
No. No.
you know, so you had to really like, if you got it, it was either bootleg or you had a few DJs that would play it or you hear
Yeah.
that at a party or stuff like that. You wasn't getting it mainstream, you know.
Right.
Um, and like I say, and then we couldn't really connect to it because it was the Miami lifestyle, you know. It was the bass music. It was basically what we call now strip club music.
Exactly. But I mean, that's big, and you got to speak on it. It's big in the South, man, because most of your rappers, producers, that they want to know if their song was a hit, where did they go?
They went to the strip club, you know, and that's where they dropped. That's where they dropped it at, and that's how Luke made millions because of the fact,
Yeah.
okay, it played in the club, it played in the what we call the hole in the walls. You know what I mean?
Right. Hmm.
That's when you saw in the hole in the walls there was a transition because up until about that time you still had a lot of blues that was played in the old hole in the walls. You know, if you were
True.
able enough to sneak in, because it was strict back then. You know what I mean?
That's
They
true.
they enforced. Hey, you ain't old enough to be in here. What you doing here?
Right.
You know, they
Exactly.
enforced that. You know,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
so that was the initial transition from that to from old juke joint type music, blues music, you know, the
Hmm.
Marvin you know, Royce's and things of that nature, and you start transitioning to the Two Live Crew because
Right.
it was basically the same music. Because truly, if you listen to some old blues,
Yeah.
woo, boy, you know that it is. You know, they get on us. You know, they get our parents got on us for listening to this stuff like this. But then, if you now that we
Right.
older and we can go back and listen to the stuff that they were listening to, and they
Yeah.
had audacity to say something to us, that was all.
Well, I think the thing was they were saying the same thing, but they were saying in a different way. Now, Luke was straight to the point, no chase.
Right.
You know, I call the music our parents listened to was a mixed drink. Luke was the straight out the bottle.
Well,
Put it
well,
that way.
well, I ain't even gonna say that because you got to remember, Millie Jackson was big.
Now that's an exception.
Millie
Everybody
Jackson
not
was
ready for that.
big, Bo. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
that's
that
true.
was the 70s. Yo, everybody had it, and you bet not to put your hand on that album. You know what I mean? Because it was like, nah, that ain't for y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, uh, but then we finally got a voice. You know what I mean? And and
Hmm.
and it created uh the unstoppable force that it is now. And you
Hmm.
can put it, you started with, I don't even know if you want to even you put it like this, but I look at it's the trinity of Dallas Austin, Jermaine
Hmm.
Dupri, Organized Noise. All of that
Yeah.
under the umbrella of LaFace. And people got to
Yeah.
realize, you don't, you know, LA and Babyface was one of the top producers during the time themselves. You
Yeah.
know, uh,
Yeah. And Rico had a personal relationship with L.A. Reid. Now the thing about that though is I think Organized Noise first group. I'm jumping a little bit here.
mhm.
Outcast. The face, it was kind of mixed reviews. You know, Rico, if I'm saying it right, and forgive me if I'm not, Rico kind of sold him on the idea of Outcast. In the beginning, they always had the talent, but I guess the thought was that they weren't superstars. Now, for the first time I heard them, I
Well,
thought, hey, this is the next wave. But I mean, I'm not a A&R. I don't
everybody
know
wasn't like
anything
us.
like that. So,
Everybody
yeah.
wasn't like, you know, but the thing about it was, you know, if we start at LaFace,
Hmm.
you know, LA and Babyface were prominent members of the Deal during that time. Deal was a hot group from the South.
Hmm.
You know, we knew that. You know, had some good songs, Body Talk, you know, Two Occasions, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we was like, okay, cool. So when they
But you got
decided,
to understand, they came from the Prince tree though. That Breed crew. I
of
mean,
course, because you got to think about it. When probably about the mid 80s.
hmm
This is after, you know, Prince blew up. You know,
hmm
you already had Jimmy and Terry had already been kicked out of the time. You
yeah,
know,
and make sure you emphasize kicked out
yeah,
because
been kicked out of the
they,
time.
they chose to pursue their own thing.
Right,
And Prince,
right.
you with Prince, you with Prince. You didn't have time for anything
You,
else.
you you ain't
So,
had time for nothing else. So when he kicked them out, and that's why they're
hmm
not. For those of you movie buffs, Jimmy and Terry is not in Purple Rain. The reason they're not in Purple Rain is because of the fact Prince had kicked them out. That is
hmm
why. Their last album was Ice Cream Castles. That was
yeah,
their last album uh on with the time. So, you know, they had left and then they had started dibbling and dabbling uh with Karen White at the time,
hmm
and of course brought us Janet Jackson to the forefront.
hmm
So but you also had an explosion out of that. People don't realize that you had Sherelle,
hmm
Pebbles, Alexander O'Neal was
hmm
birthed from all of that turmoil during that time.
of course, yeah,
So all of that resonated, you know. And if you think about it, Kelsey, back in the late '80s, you know, those were your hit makers at that point. You know what I mean? True
yeah,
R&B, because true R&B heads know Alexander O'Neal was once upon a time was a beast, Bo.
yes, he was,
Once
yes, he
upon a
was,
time, he was a beast. But then you had You had Sherelle that, you know, she ushered in that sound too. But then she brought a little cousin, and that turned the game up.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, Pebbles was bad, you
Yeah.
know. And one thing we gonna do in the South, if you bad, we gonna pay you some attention.
Yeah.
Now
You're gonna get that attention.
you're gonna get that attention. So, you know, and then I think a byproduct of that was because we knew Pebbles and we knew what she was about, and plus she was married to LA at the
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, you know, when she took over TLC, you know, we already knew, okay, that's gonna be fight.
Right.
There was no way you didn't see it. Now we little did we know that was going to destroy TLC from a financial standpoint, but at the same
Right.
time, we knew it was going to be fire. But back
Yeah.
to the
And it
Trinity.
was.
The
Mm-hmm.
Trinity was Jermaine Dupri, who we already knew. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this started the renaissance from Atlanta at this point.
Yeah.
Thing that came out of Atlanta at that point was chart topping, killing it. Uh,
Yeah.
there was no play. There was no everybody that came out took over the charts at that time. The only thing that
Yeah.
kept LaFace from honestly, LaFace during that time was probably the number one label in music.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
the sizable number 1A would probably be Uptown.
Yeah. Well, Uptown, yeah, during that time, Jodeci. I mean, that was early '90s, but Heavy D, Jodeci. Later on,
Heavy Jodeci,
Jodeci.
Christopher Williams, Mary J.
Chris
Blige.
Williams. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Those were those were some hit makers for sure.
that was the hit makers during the time. But what reason why? And let me ask you this: when was the first time you heard Cass?
It was 1994. I want to say probably September '94.
September '94. All right,
Mm-hmm.
I got it. I got Cass probably August '94. And the reason why I got Cass was one of Big Boy's cousins was going to South Carolina State with Skeet. And Skeet
Mm-hmm.
brought this tape home, man. He was like, "Yo, dog, you need to listen to this." I'm like, "Who this is?" Because at this point, nobody knows who this is. The
Outcast.
videos
Yeah.
hadn't dropped. None of the
No,
music
nothing.
had been played. He had the album before anybody knew who they were, and
Mm-hmm.
he was home for the weekend, and we listened to it that whole weekend. And then I realized right then, like, "Whoa, this is something we've been waiting for." We
Yeah.
knew automatically, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there was no skip, there was no
Mm-mm.
fast
No.
forward.
No.
Uh, you know, Southern Playalistic is a bona fide certified classic.
Yeah,
Uh,
because you got two contrasting styles on there. You got Big Boy speaking the slick stuff. You got Dre. He's spitting knowledge, but he's sound country. You know, like cousin from up the street. You know, and the production. I mean, that goes without saying, of course. But I mean, it's organized noise. That's what this whole thing is
well,
about.
I'm
So,
gonna be honest. I think the production, now that we older and we've listened to it so much, I think the
mhm.
production is really, really what grabbed our attention more so than the lyrics. Um,
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, of course.
in the beginning, now that I think about it, you know, it was like they had these concepts that was playing over and over and over, and it was
Hmm.
so different from everything else we had heard at the time. Because this is you
Yeah.
got to remember, this is during the early upstart of Biggie, you
Yeah.
know, and Nas, you know,
Hmm.
and New York had got themselves back to a prominent place until these boys came out.
Well, yeah, because I think the first single that was released was Players Ball.
Yeah,
So I remember the video. I remember the video for that. I mean, you know, they had the lags. Rico came on. Man, the theme was so thick. You know, yeah, I mean, the way he brought it in, and then when you heard the drums, he do 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 do. I mean, then you know, because the version they had on the video was different than the one you got off the
one that
tape.
was on
You know,
the CD. But
yeah, and
this
I
was the
mean,
thing about it though. But Kelsey, it spoke to us because of the fact, you know, back then we didn't wear we all we wanted was a car. You know, we ain't like these
That's it.
kids now. You know what I mean? If we got an old Fleetwood or old Broham, you know, we was
Hmm.
driving that, and we learned how to
Yeah.
drive driving them ships, Bo.
Yeah. Yeah. For
You
sure.
know, because
Yeah.
because our parents had them big body Cadillacs. They had them old
77 Thunderbird,
LTD.
84 Buick Riviera. Yeah, with the
Yeah,
454 in it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
You had some cars back then. Yeah.
Old LeSabre. Come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah. The Broham.
The Broham so long it was in Lee County and Richland County at the same time. That's how long it
The
was.
same.
For
I
those of
put it
you
like
that
this.
don't know,
Yeah.
that's about 70 miles apart. Okay,
Find you an 80 to 90 Lincoln Continental. You can put 4 adults in the back and none of them touch it.
bruh. I tell the story all the time. My uncle had a 1980 Lincoln Continental. All right,
That's first minivan. I don't care what nobody say.
bruh. Had my grandmama had uh at the time because this is pre Yolanda. My grandmama had 8 grandchildren. All us could sit in the back of that car and not
Every
never
last one of them.
us touch each other
Exactly.
and
And the
could
seats in
stand
the
up,
front pushed all the way back.
pushed all the way back. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
had to have a CDL to drive it now.
yeah.
Yeah. Bad boys along. And they
Oh, that
float.
bad boy was long as I don't know what. I remember the first time he let me drive it, bro. I was like, "How in the world y'all drive this here, bro? The darn
Yeah.
hood was long as anything."
Yeah. Yeah. You better stop early. That's all I know. When you first learn it, you better stop early.
Oh yeah, because you had old drum brakes, you
Yeah.
know, ain't had no power steering, you know, the wheel might have been a little wobbly, you know.
Hmm.
That was that's what that
But
we knew about that though. That was our
but
lifeline.
when you learn how to drive that bad boy,
Drive it
when
like
you really learn it, I'm telling you, yeah,
drive it like Bo Duke, boy.
that's
Drive it
it.
like Bo Duke.
So when
You
we
didn't worry
saw
about
those
no air
cars out,
conditioning back then. You
no,
had to put the
yeah,
windows down.
you had 255, yeah, 255. What you talking about? You had air, 200 down, 55 miles an hour. You had there, yeah.
Look
Well, I
at
mean,
it. You had to wind the window down.
whining forever,
Look at it. Y'all
and
children don't know nothing about that.
and
That's
don't
classic.
and don't mess around and have the automatic windows. You can hear that motor going down. Exactly. You can't. I'm telling you, man, the good old days, good old
Like I
days. But
say,
that's what
boy,
we saw in that video, though. I mean, that's what I guys
that
brought to the table.
out of playing cards,
Uh huh.
smoking, drinking, out in the woods somewhere, you know, chilling out. It
Hmm.
spoke to us in such a way that we knew, okay, this is us. And
Yeah.
then, you know, once we started listening to the words and everything, you know, like I say, the production was so slick, um,
Hmm.
and so good that
Let's
it
let's.
made us
I,
love music.
I don't want to cut you off, but let's talk about that for a second because prior to Outkast, I think you had Chris Cross. Chris Cross was out before Outkast,
Yeah,
but you got to understand too. You had Arrested Development. Arrested Development was the first group that I knew that was from Atlanta. I mean, they were great, but that just goes to show you the production part of Organized Noise meshed with what Outkast brought to the table. I mean, Arrested Development has some pretty good songs out,
yeah,
but
they
it
did.
never stuck or resonated or hit and stayed like when Outkast first came on the scene.
Well, I would say Arrested Development, they got too big too quick.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that is uh they fractured early. You know, Dion left
Hmm.
Arrested Development. You know, it started, they had cracks in the armor after they first hit because Tennessee was by far,
Hmm.
you know, the song of I think that was 91 or 92.
Hmm.
You
Followed by
know,
what, Mr. Wendell? Yeah.
yeah, Mr. Wendell, and then I'm Everyday People. You know,
Hmm.
they had it on lock from a standpoint, but honestly, what changed, and I think this is where Rap a Lot comes in. This is where the explosion of the Ghetto Boys. We knew of the
Hmm.
Ghetto Boys prior to that.
Hmm.
When you come and you drop Mind Playing Tricks on Me, and that is the during, I think that was 91. I want to say that was 91. Um,
Hmm.
Mind Playing Tricks on Me became, you know, this was rap royalty at that point. Um,
Right.
you got introduced to Scarface, you knew what was coming beyond that. So again,
Mm-hmm.
this is where this is another group from the South. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody started gravitate toward rap a lot, rightfully
Yeah.
so. You
Yeah,
know,
think about it. It was a blend of both worlds because older people gravitate towards because of the sample,
yeah,
with the sample of the beat,
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then with Scarface and Willie D and Bushwick rapping over it, I mean, yeah, that it kind of hit a wider variety. I mean, a couple of generations, could relate to that song.
A lot of people related to it, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, I was in Atlanta during that time, and at
Hmm.
Club XS, um, back in the day, and honestly, literally, and it was a perfect marriage because guess what? Halloween was that Saturday, and we was in the
Yeah,
club. And so
Halloween fell on the weekend.
when
Hmm.
Bushwick's part came on, that club went off, man, and it was like, oh, this is so beautiful. And this is during going to the club where it wasn't no fighting. You know what I mean?
You
Everybody
didn't, you didn't
had
have
to
to
have
worry
a
about
good
that. Yeah,
time. We had to worry about nobody getting
exactly.
shot. None of that. This was during the
Yeah,
time everybody just having a good time, everybody enjoying themselves, man. And
correct.
if you was like me and you came from a small town and you in Atlanta, you seeing stuff that opens your eyes and open your horizons to the new things that's coming. And that's why I think
Yeah.
this is when Atlanta became truly the mecca of the South. Um,
Hmm.
because you had all kind of influences coming in, but at the same time, during that time, I say that's probably the best time Atlanta stayed true to its roots at that point.
For sure, for sure.
You know,
All right, so let's delve into some of that production. I mean, let's talk about Southern Playlistic Cadillac music from the intro. It's
boy,
Peaches.
oh man, Peaches. And if you go, I guarantee you, if you go to Decatur right now, you're gonna find a Peaches. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because that was one of the first things that caught your and see, this is the thing. Atlanta is a large city, but Atlanta got dialects.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, uh, and if you talk to them long enough, you understand and you realize you can tell by the way they talk what part of Atlanta they from.
Hmm.
And Decatur, East Point, Southwest.
Hmm.
Woo, boy. We
Yeah,
have been fortunate, to hear, but the whole one thing about Outkast and all their albums, it's a journey.
yeah. And then you think about the beauty and the genius of organized noise too, and Outkast at the same time for that first album. You think about it, they were talking strictly Atlanta. So if you were from Atlanta, you visited Atlanta on the frequency. You resonated with all those places they were talking about, videos too. I mean, especially like Benz That's after the first album. That's for the New Jersey Drive soundtrack. But I mean, when you come to Get Up, Get Out, Players Ball, um, just
Sure.
everything they put out. I mean, it's just like you could resonate with it because with the production and Outkast painting that picture, they painted a picture of Atlanta. I mean, storytelling at its best to
Oh
me.
yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, with the dialect and staying true. Because I mean, honestly, if you weren't from the South and you didn't understand how the South talked, you'd had a hard time understanding a lot of that album. I mean, Big Boy spoke clear, but Dre, straight Atlanta, South. So you had a harder time understanding, but I mean, with the production, I think the musicality of it, sonically, it kept you, um, I guess, interested. So the more you listened to it, the more you understood the words, the more you resonated with Outkast.
Well,
And that's a genius organized noise. I mean,
I think one of the good things you can say about it was I don't think there was, and even to this day, honestly, I don't think there's a jealousy that came from any of them because one of
no.
the things that I have loved over the years about them, and not just Outkast, it's Goody Mob, uh, anybody that they brought on, Slim,
Hmm.
Cool Breeze, Big Rube,
Witch Doctor. Witch
You know,
Doctor.
Witch
Yeah,
Doctor. Uh, it's go in the booth. You know, it's your time to shine. Go shine. You know,
exactly. Yeah,
and I think on the first album, you know, the first album was honestly just it's hard, you know, we call it a classic, but it's hard to put it together because you got to think about it. That whole first album is just such a banger, man, and it twists up your soul. That's the best way I could put it. You
yeah.
know, Get Up, Get Out is the Southern Playalistic Players Ball. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody kind of looked at Players Ball like we're bringing back the old 70s, the old pimp days and whatever. That's not what it
Mm-hmm.
was. You know, it never changed for us. We always been like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, Play the Ball was a Christmas song, though.
Yeah, all the
Think about
players came from far and
it.
wide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
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 that's
it
what
was
they
a
rapped
Christmas
about.
song, you know.
That's what their Christmas. That's what Christmas looked like. You hear the sleigh bells, you know.
Oh, most definitely. But see, it went to even with that, it went to you know, for them to come out first time you hear them, and this where we get into the back and forth with during that time, you could tell the skills of Big Boy were vastly in front of Drake at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Drake could spit,
I
but
think Big Boy just took it more serious. I think Dre was doing it as something to do because I mean when they had a couple of showcases and Big Boy was the one that convinced them to keep going. Dre was pretty much done with rap at that point before they got signed, you know. But Big could convince him to keep going and they got their deal. But I don't know if well I can't say that I can't speak for him, but to me it just seems like he was just happy to be rapping. I mean Big Boy, you could tell I think took it more serious that time. I'm just speaking from my perspective, but and that could be the farthest thing from the truth. I mean, both of them could have been just as equally as hungry, but I think Big Boy had, early on in his career, in the career of Outkast, Big Boy was more of the feature guy. Dre was like, yeah, he was tough, street, and you know, but Big Boy he painted a better picture. Now, I will say this: in that first and second album, start wearing that turban. Hey, you got a
bro,
whole different Dre.
that the move between the first and second album, we all know what changed during that point.
Mm-hmm.
We know what kind of power that she has. Um, Her influence on hip hop, that's a whole show unto itself. Um,
Mm-hmm. You got
because
Little Brother,
she
Common, and 3000. Yeah,
yeah, because she is a game changer in so many different ways. Um, but you can tell the influence for sure. By the time they got to the third album, he was a monster.
yeah.
He was a monster. You know,
The third album was Stankonia, right?
those things. Aquemini is the
No,
third.
it's fourth album. Criminal third. Stankonia was fourth,
Yeah,
and
Aquemini
I
is.
think that's when Outkast wanted to take more control from a production standpoint.
But
For the
even with
first
that,
three, Organized Noise.
yeah, but even with Stankonia, you can tell the elements of organized noise still was present. Um, even
They
though
stayed mentor those guys. Yeah.
Even though Dre did a lot of the production on this on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
you can see it and you can feel it because if you think about it from a musical standpoint, uh, that's probably still one of the better produced albums of the
Mm-hmm.
four. When I look at all the Outkast albums, uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we have this debate all the time. What's the best one?
The
Um,
third one, to me, ATL.
Aquemini, to
No,
me,
they Aquemini. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Aquemini is probably the number one. But the question is between AT Aliens and Southern Playalistic.
Stank,
Honestly, Stankonia won album of the year, but it's not their best album. Honestly.
ATL. I want to say because the first album they were just happy to be out there. And they had some bangers, don't get me wrong. But the
Right.
second album, you, I think you had a more mature Outcast, and then Big Boy lost his aunt.
Yeah.
And then they've kind of figured out what was really going on in the industry because Elevator, just two dope boys in Cadillac. Then you got classics such as Jazzy Bell, and then Growing Old. I mean, that to me, that album was. I think that was the second best. I'd still say Coop and I was the best, but ATL's was right on his heels.
Well, you saw the dramatic change in their approach at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, they were pushing the envelope. I mean,
yeah,
because honestly, two dope boys, it was tight. But then you talk about Wheels of Steel, which is kind of homage to New York rap,
yep,
and then but Elevators was totally different.
all the way.
Um, and then even Elevators growing old. I mean, even out of this world.
Well,
We had the futuristic, alien type beat to it. That was different.
Babylon, uh,
Yeah.
Babylon, really, really, you had to sit there and absorb Babylon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To understand exactly what it was coming to. But I mean, with that one, I still say Jazzy Bell. Uh, you know that if that didn't tell the story of us growing up, all you got to do is really, really just think about that because truly everything they said in Jazzy Bell is what we end up dealing with after we got out of high school, knew what we were doing. Um, they didn't pay us no attention back then, but now they pay us some attention now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
all that craziness, it was so true, and that's just how it was. Um,
Yeah.
but uh, when we'll get to what we feel like was the best songs from back then. But the same thing with Goody Mob, Soul Food certified classic. They hit us in the head from the start with
Mm-hmm.
you know uh, cell therapy is
Mm-hmm.
what I think one of the better debut songs from any group of all
It's
time.
the piano. You all you got to do. Anybody from our generation, our time period, you put that piano on. Dun, 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 dun,
We know
everybody
what it
knows
is.
what it is.
We know what it
You know
is.
what it is.
It,
Yeah.
it that goes along with it, and that's true production. And you got to
Mm-hmm.
think, there are songs that are going to resonate with us. We're gonna be 100 years old, and we
Mm-hmm.
gonna hear them songs, and whether we can walk or not, we gonna attempt to move. Cell
Yeah.
therapy is one. Rosa Parks is another one. Uh,
Uh-huh.
we all know the classic Manny Fresh
Juvenile. Yeah.
Juvenile back that. All you got to hear is the intro on that,
Do, do, do. Yeah. That's all you
and
need to hear.
you getting up. I don't
Yeah.
care. I deal with back pain now, hip hurt.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you hear that, you be like, oh shit, why y'all doing this to me? You know,
Yeah. But
because
there was a stint too from New Jersey Drive when you heard that bass hit. You
oh,
automatically your shoulder start moving, that backhead bounce. Hey.
but you know what though? That's one of the songs I believe, and I think Organized Noise did that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of it to think about. This is how great that song is. New Jersey Drive was a movie about jacking cars in New Jersey.
Exactly.
Okay, a lot of people ain't
Mm-hmm.
watched that movie. We watched that movie when we were growing up, but
Yeah.
it's about jacking cars in New Jersey. But
Mm-hmm.
the highlight of the soundtrack, and this is where we talk about how the soundtrack used to influence the movie. The
Yeah.
highlight of the soundtrack is two boys from Atlanta, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
rapping about
Backed by Organized Noise Production.
right, and it was relevant. That's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
it was
Yeah.
relevant. And then they followed it
Mm-hmm.
up with another song on another soundtrack
I
on
know where you're
Soul
going.
Food, based in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago
In due time.
in due time. And that is probably the most lyrical, hard hitting thing. I honestly, we already knew who CeeLo Green was, but
Mm-hmm.
that song took CeeLo to a different level. Um,
Yeah.
and
Well, you think
then
he had more of an impact on that, or because of what he did on Get Up, Get Out, and his work with Good and Mob that allowed that to resonate, or the expectation we expected that from him at that point? Because honestly, I mean, we talking about organized noise production, Outkast, but CeeLo had the best verse on Get Up. I mean,
yeah, he did.
to me,
No, he did. Get Up, Get Out. That is CeeLo Green's introduction. You know what I mean?
hmm
And it was the thing that I think it solidified where we were going at that point.
hmm
Um, because we knew, okay, you got these four other cats that's rapping on this album. Who these
hmm
fellas is, man? Because we didn't, we
yeah,
was introduced to all of them at the same time.
yeah, we got glimpses of them on the Outkast original album. Voice we had Cujo and Timo. It was Gip on that one too.
Gip was on that too. Gip, but he wasn't as
Yeah,
prominent as he was on the second album.
yeah, because he did Get Up, Get Out too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But,
definitely.
but the thing was, you knew who CeeLo was, and then by the time you got to, and then when they came out with it, with
hmm
Soul Food, CeeLo just solidified itself because it was different. The voice was different.
And
It didn't sound like
you're
a
talking
rap
about the
voice.
song, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, a heap of help in the fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, the collard greens too big for my tea. Hey man, I still
it,
remember that, man.
it made us, but we understood that,
Because
and
that's Sunday dinner in the South.
that was us,
Yeah.
uh everything about that just took us somewhere. And then by the time they got to In Due Time, uh
hmm
it was like, okay, we dealing with some monsters right now. We
Yeah.
dealing with some
And it
monsters.
was spit and it was spitting out. It was kind of I don't want to say it, and like brush it over, but it was kind of spiritual. Just keep your faith in me. Don't act impatiently. You get where you need to be in due time.
That's right.
Even when things are slow, hold on and don't let go. I'll give you what I owe in due time. You know,
Right.
that's a message in that, man.
The whole thing was a message. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know,
hmm
but it was what rap needed at the time,
hmm
because again, we had just came out of when Rakim and Daddy Kane was ruling the airwaves,
hmm
at conscious rap that was ruling the airwaves, and then we had the influx of gangster rap. Um,
hmm
NWA showed us where they hood was from. So again, this is
hmm
during a time where we feel left out because we Georgia and the Carolinas. You know what I mean?
East Coast, West Coast, like you said, rapper lines. Texas had that thing. Of course, 8 Ball and MJG, but you know, Atlanta, yeah, it
Yeah,
was it
we
was
we
kind
we,
of had
we
no
felt
identity.
we had no identity. I mean, and when we say the South, you have to understand. Yeah, I know Memphis is in Tennessee. Yeah, I
hmm
know Louisiana is the South. But to
hmm
us, that's not the South. The South is the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Virginia. That's the
hmm
South to us. We kind of equate Louisiana with Texas.
Yeah, it's like the Midwest, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
Even Memphis, because it's so far over there. Yeah,
It's so far over there. It takes us so long to get there. We don't really put it in that same kind of genre with us, um,
right.
because our thing was you was either 95 or I-20. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, basically
And
the
that, and
third coast.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and we didn't have any of this until these boys started making their music, and
hmm
because it was so, our music was rooted in the funk anyway, because that's what we grew up on. So
R&B. Yeah,
that's what made it so good, because it was something you could dance to, and at the same time it was bringing a message to you at the same time.
yeah.
um and that's why I feel like, what they did at that point, they took over rap. Well, they took over
hmm
all the music. I ain't just gonna say rap. They took over all the
Yeah,
music at that point.
because because they were heavy in the rap, but at the same time, you got the same group, TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool. They produced one of their biggest hits to
The
date.
biggest hit, the biggest hit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and this was how you knew these fellas just, and see, this is the thing I love about them, and it's just like me and you. The love of music is what
Mm-hmm.
made them special. You know, true
Yeah,
music.
because yeah, I don't know if you picked up on it or not, but in Questlove podcast, they were talking about, jazz. Then we were just talking about rap beats and all that stuff, samples, and then you talking about the sound of a drum, where you get the drum from, who sampled that drum, just the intricacies of making beats, when to, cut one thing off, put another thing. I mean, it's just a science to it, but they love music so much they're willing to go through it and understand that, and I'm thankful for it because I mean, look at what it did. You got Outkast, Good and Mob, you got, of course, Cool Breeze, you got Dungeon Family, you got TLC, and don't forget In Vogue too.
Yeah, yeah. You know, again, like I say, they took over. They took over music at that point. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was coming to Atlanta to change the way their fortunes were going, and it's still that's
Yeah.
and I think honestly it was the greatest thing. And one of the things I can say, and just getting off the music, one thing I can say about Rico and what you have been able to see, it was always about the ATL. It was never uh anything
Uh,
else. He
yeah.
represented Atlanta with the fullest. He's not some of these folks that have come to Atlanta and they transplants or whatever. This man grew up in Atlanta.
Yeah.
He knew about what it was to go through uh the issues of the day, the tragedies of the
Mm-hmm.
day.
Yeah.
He was he is probably, I would say, one of the foremost figures in Atlanta culture himself, because he
Mm-hmm.
represented everything about Atlanta. Anything that Atlanta had going on, he was right there,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And he's always been at the forefront of it, and even more so, that's why we felt like with all of them getting together lately and being around each other, we kind of felt like they were
Mm-hmm.
working toward maybe one more album, you know,
Yeah. A compilation or something. Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
honestly, uh, from the pictures that I have seen, this man had a beautiful home going. But
Oh yeah.
what made it beautiful wasn't the fact of the flowers or the carriage or the how they had it laid out. Um, you saw the brotherhood of everybody that he had touched um,
Exactly.
during his life. Everybody was there and they were playing tremendous respect. Uh,
Exactly.
it was about, what this man meant. We lost a huge, huge, huge warrior for just life in general. Um,
True.
when he died, because I'm gonna be honest, it was hard. I've never met Rico Wade, never, not one time
Mm-hmm.
in my life. But when I saw that, it was one of those situations where I was like, "Oh Lord, what?" Like you
Yeah.
lost, like it was you or Joe Mills or Steve or something like that.
Yeah. But I mean, you understood his impact, and you know enough about the person. You understood his impact and what he meant to the game. Just like we mentioned, Outkast, Good and Mob, TLC, and Vogue. I mean, his latest project, well, not project, Killer Mike's latest project, where he narrated everything on that Grammy Award-winning album. That just goes to show you, man. I mean, how he was revered and what people thought about it. Because Killer Mike could have got anybody on there, but I mean, honestly, on most of the speaking parts on any Outkast Good and Mob album done by who? Big Roo.
Big Rude.
But
That's the thing. But see, this is where you know it was when the Grammys went on and Mike won. It was such a good feeling,
mhm,
because honestly, and I hate to say it like this, but I'm gonna have to say it like this. True hip hop won out for once.
yeah,
Um, again,
Yeah,
yeah,
he got a lot. You got a lot of hate behind that. I mean, just because Killer Mike. Well, who is Killer Mike? There's no way he beat out Travis Scott. This person, that person, another person. If you understand production and you understand the musicality, you know, I work with some young cats, man. They say, yeah, I mean, that was from a production standpoint. You're not beating that out.
no,
Don't matter if you know Killer Mike or not. You know, and the true fans of hip hop went back and listened to that album and said, oh, okay, I can understand why.
you know, scientists and engineers, man, yeah, bro, that was the perfect combination of old school and new school. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
that
and
was
see
that
what people don't
that was
realize,
Atlanta.
right? But what people don't realize is everybody, you know, Future is part of the Dungeon family, man.
That's
That
Rico's cousin.
that you don't think it ain't by chance that the reason Future is as big as he is ain't got nothing to do with because of the work that Rico didn't put in?
Yeah, he
Because
showed them how to work. Cause
if you didn't sat there at the side of this man growing up, and then
mm-hmm.
you had the opportunity to sit in with Dre and Big Boy, Cujo, Timo, Gill,
CeeLo.
CeeLo, and you didn't watch that all your life, because it's just like I look at the children of the Wu-Tang Clan. I get
Mm-hmm.
that's the perfect example. The children of the Wu-Tang Clan, because they
Mm-hmm.
have seen greatness.
Mm-hmm.
They spit now with greatness. Busta Rhymes kids spit now with greatness because they daddy is one of the greatest of all time. You know,
Yeah. If you take it a step further, R&B, Boys and Men, Wanye Morris,
his folk chilling.
one more.
Look here. His folk chilling right now, bo.
So disrespectful. I'm
They they
telling you, man.
they putting their daddy, they putting their daddy and their uncle in under the ground, bo. Cause them boy,
Well, I
to,
mean, that ain't gonna let it get so far. Man. You got to understand that Wanye was a beast, man.
I understand that, but look here. I'm not saying please don't go away. I'm talking about they singing Tevin Campbell, and they is
Well,
out.
yeah,
It is hard to outdo Tevin.
yeah. No, you can't. You can't. Not on his
It is
own stuff now.
hard to outdo Tevin. But them boys is outdoing Tevin on that song, bro. Mary
Yeah.
J, it was smart because I feel like music during this time it's been to walk itself back to that point, and they're gonna be at the forefront of it because of the fact they have something that nobody else has. They got talent. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what it always has come down to. And that is one of the things
Well,
that
talent
Rico,
and back, talent and backing.
talent and
You got
backing.
is
But
yeah.
that was
You
one
got
of
to
the
have
things,
both.
that's what made Rico special. He understood when he saw talent, he knew how to
Mm-hmm.
nurture it, and he knew how to make it be the best that they could possibly be.
And he knew how to sell it too. Because I think, for me watching this other podcast, man, sometimes you just got to go in there. If you believe in something enough, you got to stand on tables, man. And what I mean by that, I mean you got to go to war with the execs, man. Look, y'all don't know. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. And there's a couple of examples. I think he convinced LA to release Bombs Over Baghdad. Now I don't know if they had any production on that because that was the fourth album. That was Stankonia. But he convinced LA to release Bombs Over Baghdad. And honestly, I don't think LA liked Elevators in the beginning either. You know, Dre produced that, but that one. But I don't know if Rico had anything to do with that. But you know, there's a couple instances. If you got a gut feeling, sometimes the record executives are wrong. So
Well,
I mean,
if you think about it, the two songs that you just talked about was from a musical standpoint, they incorporated stuff that wasn't hip hop. You know,
true.
128 beats per minute. Come on, man.
Yeah, yeah. But if Dre can get in some yellow pants and run through the hood and get the kids to run behind him, hey, that's influence. That's influence.
That you think about Bombs Over Baghdad. Bombs Over Baghdad came out during the time where there wasn't no wall, and the reason why it was what it was the production of it. I mean, you got to think about it. Since Aquemini, they've been incorporating all kind of uh, obscure type instruments.
It,
Who plays
it
who?
puts an envelope. Yeah,
Who
it
plays
puts an
harmonica?
envelope.
Who plays harmonica in a rap song, man? You know what I'm saying? Who does that?
Bubba,
But then,
Bubba Sparks might have it, but
yeah,
that's it.
but who does that? But then, who uses the old washboard? You know,
Hmm.
I mean that stuff that we grew up with. That I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I mean, when we had music class, when we was in elementary school, we had them same instruments using, to make
You know,
music back then.
it was it was Southern. You got to understand though, in the South, man. I know you know it. In church, all you need was a hand clap and a foot pat and a foot stomp.
All
You
day
got a
long,
song. You got a
all
song.
day long. Hey, I used to watch Andy Griffith and see Mr. Darling with a jug of moonshine, make a beat and a
Mm,
half, bo.
there
You
you
know,
go.
and tell Andy, hey, you want to keep up, keep up. Oh, one, two,
Exactly.
three.
Yeah.
You know, that's where it goes to, like we've been saying all the time. They gave us the opportunity for us to have a voice. Um,
Hmm.
and the thing is, from my standpoint, um, I greatly appreciate it because of the fact, I make no bones about it. Outkast is my favorite rap group of all time. I hold
Hmm.
Big Boy and Dre in high esteem for as MCs.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
from a lyrical content, very few people can match them. But then at the same time, when you look at all of them,
Hmm.
they are great individually. And this is the thing, and I get some people be hollering about Dre, talking about, man, how y'all can put Dre up so high. Um, I'm like, bruh, everything Dre spits on, Dre exponentially makes it better.
Yeah, they're waiting for him to drop something. Now, I will say that he's my favorite rapper. He might not be a top five, but he's my favorite just because of the way he does it, goes about doing his thing.
Right now, I got him as the third best rapper of all time, only because his
Hmm.
lyrical content is untouchable. Um, the thing about Dre is, if Dre, and this is where I hope, I just want one more, just because of the fact I know he got it in him. He done already showed us
Hmm.
that he got it in him. But he gotta feel it, and I understand that from an artist standpoint. If you ain't feeling it, you ain't feeling it. But
Exactly. He's not gonna put something out just to put something out.
right. And but they've never done that. You know what I mean?
No,
They have never done that. And that's one of the things I can truly say about them. Their relevancy stays because of the fact they've never cheated us when it came to music.
no. And
Because
I
it was a
mean,
lot of people that didn't like the Outer Wild soundtrack, but that is a banger.
I
That
like
is
it.
a banger, man.
And I mean, that show kind of show where they were headed. I mean, how many songs were they on together on that one? I don't think they
One or
were on
two.
any songs together.
I think it's one
It
or
wasn't
two.
many.
It ain't a whole lot. Because each one of them, they were still doing like they were doing on Speakerbox and Love Below on that.
Yeah, different creative directions, but I mean, they'd given us so much. I mean, because even when they got back together, I think what Can't Wait with Sleepy Brown on that one. Of
Yeah.
course, that's Organized Noise production. I
Hmm.
mean, classic, man. I mean, it's good music.
It they they the soundtrack of our childhood, but at the same time,
Mhm.
um, they taught us lessons that I think we still. I know I put my kids on it. My kids love them, uh, because they understood. This is different than what we listen to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
my daughter, the first time I think I played when she listened to Aquemini. The first time she
Hmm.
listened to it, I'm talking about the song Aquemini. She was like, how the song just changed at the end. I told her, I said, girl, I said, this is what real music is about. And she was like,
Hmm.
this is so good. And I'm like, yeah, you have to understand that.
Yeah. You think about I think one of the best songs, Spodio the Dopalicious. I mean, think about that one.
Bruh. I mean, but it was true instruments though. It wasn't, it wasn't something that just put together. And I think that's the other reason why it's been so good is because
Mm-hmm.
they played live instruments over a lot of this stuff that they made. It wasn't a lot of sampling. Uh, if it was sampling, they intertwined it into what they were already gonna put together, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
made it so good.
But I say that's the beauty of all that because you think about, I know I've heard Outkast say, in the South they were like on Luke and all that other stuff, but Outkast, Big Boy, and Dre, I mean, they were listening to everybody. They were listening to Tribe Called Quest, big Tribe Called Quest fan. And
mhm.
Dre's not shy about telling anybody about that. I mean, Tribe Called Quest. And then you got to think about when it comes to organized noise. Um, they were a different sound. They're more jazzy and stuff. And I know I think I heard them say on Quest Love's podcast too. They were heavily like in South Souls of Mischief, stuff like that. And you can hear that in some of their songs. It just wasn't Southern, but they took what the South was supposed to be or what they were making the South, along with a little bit of East Coast, West Coast, and just made it their own. You hear the influence.
Yeah, I mean, even now, I mean, you hear the influences because you look at and this is how you know true producers because this was one of the things we were talking about one day. Why don't nobody make their own stuff no more? Why is everybody using somebody else's song or somebody else beat um from years ago? And I'm like, why y'all don't make them for yourself no more? And you wonder why music is lacking,
Mm-hmm.
but one thing I can truly say about this whole family thing, this Dungeon family thing, they've
Mm-hmm.
never made a diss record.
No, at all.
It ain't about that. It has never
No,
been about that.
it's about the true art of hip hop.
It's about the love of the art and it's about the love of the culture. It has never been, and the thing about it is, people talked about them back then. People
Mm-hmm.
thought Drake was crazy. When he come out with them goat
He,
pants,
he just wanted to look like the music, man.
he came out with the goat pants and the shoulder pads. Man, they talk trash about it.
Who gonna out rap him?
Nobody,
I'll wait
nobody. You
till they can talk.
and
They're
look
gonna
here,
talk all they want to.
and this is the thing. These boys so multi-talented. Because if you look at Big Boy in his acting debut on ATL, that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
greatest acting spots you ever want to see.
And that's what I think it is. Little
That
Big
little Big
Brother.
Brother, and he coming right about now.
Now, that's it.
But my favorite part. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it hit me in my mouth with some goddamn money. That was so disrespectful.
So
I said,
disrespectful.
"Oh my god,
Yeah, that's true ATA. It's grown man business.
it broke." That's what I'm saying.
You know the grown man business, right?
But you know what? When he did that part, I swear, I that sounds so much like my brother. It was like, man, that's key.
Mhm. Yeah.
He didn't hit me in my mouth with some goddamn money.
Hey, telling you, man.
Like I say, it resonated. Everything they have done has resonated, and I don't know if you're ready to put a bow on this, but I'm just gonna be honest about it.
Hmm.
When Rico Wade passed a couple of weeks ago, it hurt. Not
Yeah.
because not because he was a producer. It was what
Hmm.
he represented as a man. Um, it made me take a seat and think about where we are in life in general.
Hmm.
For those of you all that don't know, uh, I got a tight circle. My circle hadn't deviated in years, and it ain't gonna deviate. Um,
Hmm.
you know, the ones that I have that's close to me, um, they know what's up. They know me. They know how I feel about them. Um,
Hmm.
but it's just a point of if something was to happen to any of us right now, I don't think any of us would be good because of the fact we've already had it happen to an extent. Um,
Hmm.
and it's still difficult to deal with. So I know how Dre and Big Boy and how the rest of the crew is feeling right now. Because when you spent so much time with someone and that person has had a huge influence over your life, and then that person is no longer there, it's going to take a minute to rebound and figure out how are we going to go on from this standpoint. You know,
Yeah.
it's and then the other part of it is, again, like I say, this brother's same age I am, man. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it brings home. You never know. You never
That
know.
is true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what happened. Hadn't heard anything. Hadn't been no rumors or whatever.
Some reports say I think it's heart failure, but I don't know until I see something solid or something concrete. I won't know. But at the end of the day, I mean, what we do know is he's no longer with us.
Right. And that's why I say, bro, this one hit close to home, not only because of the influence, but it hit close to home because I know we just as tight as they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Now,
it would hit us the same kind of way.
I'm gonna hit it from a different angle though. It hurt, but at the same time, what gives you peace in all of this is knowing that he lived out his purpose. You can hear at the beginning of that Questlove podcast. He knew early on that he wanted to do something with music because of the feel,
Right.
and he dedicated his life to making sure that others felt what he felt. When it came to a song or music, because music is all about a feeling, it's an emotion, and,
Mm-hmm.
and it can put you in so many different places. And to say that he did that at the highest level, I'll just put it like this: well done. Because a lot of us, we're walking around here working, but we're not living. We're not operating in our gift. Now, I'm on the outside looking in at Rico and Dungeon Family and all that, but if I had to guess, and if I had to put some money on it or whatever, he was operating in his gift. He loved it what he was doing. He took it seriously, and he was able to impact and influence people, and that's all he ever wanted to do. So I choose to look at it as, yeah, it's a loss, but it's a celebration too. Selfishly, I was hoping that we can get another Outcast album produced by Organized Noise, but you know what? If we could just bring everybody together to understand why you started the journey in the first place,
Right.
he did what he was supposed to do.
Right. Right.
Sometimes when we live a life, it's not necessarily about us and what we want to do, but it's just being obedient and doing what we're supposed to do so others can benefit from it. And that's a hard place to be in sometimes. I'm pretty sure they had highs and lows, ups and downs and all that stuff. But when you truly work within your gift, you're a blessing to others. And in return, you're going to get your flowers.
Oh yeah.
So I,
Yeah.
I choose to look at it that way. You know,
Yeah.
he gave us a lot.
Oh man. He if ever there was someone that you could truly, truly say that gave the world a gift, it was him,
Mm-hmm.
man. It was him.
Yeah.
And um, you don't you say this about some people, but sometimes it's a bunch of junk, but just being real,
Yeah.
because we were able to witness this man over the last 30 years and the impact
Mm-hmm.
that he has had on so many of us. It is truly had been a blessing just to be around during this time, because without him, you think about, me and you probably two of the biggest cast fans, Dungeon Family, in the world. And without, we can link something back to them, anything that has happened in our lives, anything that we've been through. Um,
Yeah. The soundtrack for a better part of it. Yeah.
it goes back to them. And then you think about it, bro. That's my riding music. You know what I mean? If I'm riding, one of them albums going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just ride. You ain't no skips. Ain't never been no skips. You know, and
No,
you can't say that about a lot of artists, man. And
no,
one thing I would say about some of these artists now, y'all really need to look at, and I know they've been paying attention. Some of them been paying attention. I ain't gonna say all of them, but look
yeah,
at
true
what
hip
this
hop
man,
fans will.
look at what this man, what effect this man then had on a
Hmm.
whole city, a whole movement.
Yeah,
You need to take that to heart because this
yeah,
is the thing. Yeah, you making music. Yeah, you making money. But the thing is this here, you ain't making the impact you think you make.
impact and influence. Yeah,
You know, and this
not
man,
not only the hip hop community, but the R&B community, Atlanta in general, and
Atlanta
not
in
even
general.
Atlanta. It's farther reaching than that. So
Yeah. Yeah, because from what I've seen through pictures and videos, man, um, this man was beloved. You know what I mean? And I ain't just talking about because he had money or whatever. This man was beloved because of the fact of what he gave people. He gave people himself.
yeah,
And that's why everybody is going through what they're going through right now because of the fact this man was special. And if you can't see that, something wrong with you because, you know, like I say, this man was ATL through and through and through and through and through, you know, and not because he was this flat. Because half the time, if you, unless you're a true organized fan or Dungeon Family fan, you didn't know who Rico Wade was. You had heard the name, but he
yeah.
was never, he wasn't like another fella we know that produced people. He wasn't all in dancing in the videos. He wasn't all first and foremost in the videos.
I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not even
I'm
gonna go
just
there.
saying. I'm just saying. You know, he
I, I
was,
know,
yeah, he
I know
might
you
have
got,
been there.
I know you got an episode on that, but yeah, but that'll be,
Oh,
yeah, nah,
yeah, that's an episode because yeah, we going in on that, and I've been telling y'all this for years and years and years. We going in on that one. Him and that fella out in Los Angeles, we going in. I don't want to hear nothing else about neither one of them two. Just be
I'm
real.
gonna let you, I'm gonna let you have that. I'm just gonna sit back and I'm gonna pass you the mic on that one, man.
Look here, I'm so ready for them two. Cause look here, I've been saying this for years and years and years. But see, that's a classic example. When you mess around and you shit on people, it gonna come back on you, bro. It gonna come back on. Ain't ain't
Karma,
no
man.
ain't no doubt about it. You can play and fool around all you want. You do wrong to
Hmm.
somebody, it might not be tomorrow, might not be next year, but at some point during your life, it's coming back on
It's
you.
it's coming
And
back for sure.
and that man, he got truckloads of stuff coming for him because he deserved everything that he gets.
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
we're gonna leave it at that. But to put a bow on this one, I encourage all of our listeners to get a chance. Start with Southern Playlist at Cadillac Music. Take a stop by ATL. Then hit Soul Food. Follow that up with Still Standing.
Yes, sir.
And then take a trip down to Coop and I. When you get finished with that, listen to a little bit of Waterfall. Then listen to Don't Let Go. And just enjoy the fact that we were able to have a member of Organized Noise, have that production. You know, it'll never be the same. It'll never be the same. But take solace in understanding that we were given a gift. You know, however you listen to it, however you take it. I mean, some people against rap curse and all this thing, that thing, other thing too. But at the end of the day, if you just look at it from a production standpoint, we were given a gift. I mean, we had it for 30 years, which doesn't seem like it was long enough, but you know, just enjoy it, you know. And I mean, that's pretty much all I can say on that, man. Just celebrate it. Was he a perfect person? I'm not here to get into all that. But what he gave us musically, hey, he had an impact.
You know, I just my only thing for him, uh, all I can say is rest easy from that standpoint. To his mom, Miss Beatrice Wade, just gonna be honest. Your son was a genius. Your son was a master of his craft. Uh, but honestly, if you didn't allow him that leeway, we never would have got
Mhm.
what we got. And special thanks goes to you because you birthed a giant. And there's no other way that we can put it. You birthed a giant. His influence will last forever because we got music. And that music gonna last forever. And honestly, uh, I don't think it ever be replicated. It may be improved upon, but it won't be replicated. You
Yeah.
know, again, like Kelsey say, y'all listen to this stuff, man. This is great music, and from
It's
a
timeless.
from a production, from a lyrical, it is the perfect marriage. They he created something that is missing right now in a lot of music, bro. And that's that he created feeling, you know. Uh Talk about something that means something, man. That's the thing, you know.
Yeah.
What difference you making to the world, you know.
That's it. Because money's gonna come and go. Material things are gonna come and go. Relationships. That's what's last.
Yeah. And that's why I say, we y'all always see me and Coop, but the rest of the crew, we make sure we got a weekly touch point now, just to make sure we good. Um, wish we all was like we used to be where we were close because we used to have the best days.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing is when we do get together, it's just like we was yesterday. You know what I mean? So that's the
Exactly.
beautiful part about it. It never goes away. Uh, you know, we are a cohesive unit, if nothing else. Uh,
Exactly.
we a cohesive unit. The text messages and trash talk that y'all don't get a chance to see. A lot of people would be mad with some of the stuff we say to each other,
Yeah,
but we know
especially during football season.
it all come out of love, man. It all come out of love, and
That's
that's why
it.
we don't have a problem with it, man. You know,
Exactly.
but your time will come. That's one thing with about us. Your time will
Yeah.
come, and we let
Yeah.
you know about it, and we don't let it go.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So for next time, y'all listen to this again. This is tribute to Mr. Rico Wade. Um, appreciate you, love you. Never got a chance to meet you. I wish I did, just because of the influence that you've had. But I think Coop, we did a good job of letting him know, along with all the other folks that have been letting him know over the last couple of weeks, just how much he meant to us and the influence he's had. Um, Part of the
For
reason
sure.
why we have this show is Rico Wade. The love that we
I
have,
know. Yeah.
yeah, the love that we have for what he's accomplished. That's the reason why we have this show.
And what as a collective they've been able to gift us with was Outkast, Good and Ma, Witch Doctor, Cool Breeze,
Yeah,
you name it. If I forgot anyone, blame it on me and I'm hard. Waterfalls, In Vogue, TLC,
yeah. It's been because of this, the influence that he had. For those of you that listen to us all the time, we got our most famous show is Still Chugging Along.
Yeah,
uh Still Chugging Along, and that's Rico Wade's influence because that show was about groups that he had worked with and nurtured at that time. So
exactly.
we appreciate that. Keep it on. I hope that thing, where every week that the stats come out, that's always number one, and I love that so much because that was when we really didn't, we was just starting out. We really didn't, we ain't as polished as we are now,
Yeah. But that was
Uh,
the beauty of it, man. It was raw and just two guys having a conversation, man.
yeah, and look here, I hope somebody comes across this one, and I don't want anybody to call us or anything, but honestly, I just want, if somebody out there is listening, play it for the fam, man. Play it for the fam, just for the standpoint. Just let them know that y'all what y'all done over y'all lifetime. It mattered to somebody, bro. It mattered.
Exactly.
It mattered. So I hope somebody get it to them. I ain't looking for nobody to give me no return call or whatever. Just let them know, yo, it's some fellas. Y'all meant something to us.
Exactly.
And with that, we'll go ahead and shut it down. For sure, we're gonna be probably another 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And we'll get back with everybody. Don't know what we're going to next. We got so many topics to go to right now. Because if we
Well,
do
I
what
mean,
was out
one
there,
thing, yeah, one thing you can be sure of, we're gonna start off on a topic, but we're going where we're gonna go.
oh, we go where we want to go. I mean, we
That's
know
the
what the
constant.
title is, but that,
Yeah.
we do what we do. It's two fellas having a conversation. So
That's it.
we gonna go off the road. We gonna come back. But see, if you grew up in the South, you don't never stay in the rut. Sometimes you got to
No.
get out the rut, and then you get back
Exactly.
in the rut.
Exactly.
Right.
We
So
always come back to it.
yeah, that's a Southern thing. That's a Southern thing.
That's what we do.
That's right. One love, baby. One love.
One love.
So with that, I say y'all have a good evening, and we'll get back with y'all in a little bit.